Okay, folks, you know what time it is. This time, the gentleman I have coming to the stage, literally, uh, is a friend of mine that I met about a year ago. So I had the privilege of performing with this guy at Paradise Cove for a little while, and him being one of the line captains over there was a leader. But what was really interesting that was talking about his background story. You know, he was in the military for a while. He does a lot of martial arts. He did wrestling for a while too, and he's raising his own family. Before I got there, they called him uncle because he was the oldest guy, and then I showed up, and then I was grandfather status pretty much. But but now we got him on the show, so it's cool to have him here. He's when it comes to Polynesian dance, this guy does everything, and I'm gonna have him talk a story about his life and the things he's been able to accomplish with him in his career and his family. So I got for you folks over here, Zach Khan, aka Chief Palakiko. So go ahead, brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How's it, everyone? Zach Hunt, Chief Apology, that's the stage name. That just kind of stuck with me, and I started using it for social media. So that's how some people know me now. But Zach. But professional dancer for eh, 10, 11 years, not too long. I started dancing professionally kind of late. Some of the people at the code, like, they've been dancing since they were in their teens, professionally. But I, I was a little bit later due to military, probably. I probably would have started dancing professionally earlier if I never joined the Air Force. Uh, yeah. Dad started dancing hula, I think I was like 13, 14, something like that, for Palani Agosto, Namakalani Akamalu here out in Mililani. My dad, he made me do it, me and my three brothers, and I hated it. I hated it because I wasn't good at it. And growing up, I was always anything physical, especially any sports, whatever, like fast. I picked it up. Could always pick it up. And then it came to dancing hula, and it took me a little bit for it to click. And it was a few things. It was that I wasn't good at it. I didn't have any friends doing it. Um, there's still the stigma, but it's not as strong. But the stigma that, if you dance hula and you're a guy, or you mahu, right? And so as a teenager, that really it's in your head, man. Just oh, I don't want anybody thinking I'm mahu. It's just like now I could not care less what anyone thinks about what I do. But back then, that was part of it. But it was mostly because I just always frustrated, couldn't get it down, because you gotta separate all the parts of your body, especially for hula. It's not just top half and bottom half; it's left to right, because everything's doing something different, and then it's so structured. Your hand has to be exactly here. You have to be looking here for this word, up there for that word, all that kind of stuff. So dance hula for a while from the Makalani, and then I went over to NC Aloha Delirious, hello, and competed. Went to Miramar a couple times, and that was the beginning of the dancing. After that, joined the military. I was gone for 7 years, 8 years, and then I mean the whole time, nothing, no dancing until I came back home, and then I didn't have a plan, so I was just doing side jobs here and there, whatever, making money, and then somebody called me up and said, "Hey, you used to dance, right?" I was like, "Oh yeah." Like, "Oh, why don't you do it for money?" Like, "Oh, never thought about that." So the rest is history, man. I've been doing it ever since.
That's cool, brother. I gotta ask you, what made you want to join the Air Force? How did that come about?
I just wanted to get off the island, pretty much. I want to, I didn't want to be, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I didn't want to be one of those people that never left Hawaii. There's a lot of people that, I mean, or I went to Vegas, but that's it. It's like it's a big world. There's a lot to see. There's a lot to do out there. A lot of people to meet. So I figured the military would help me out with that, and it did. I've been to a few states, probably like 9 or 10, maybe. I would like to get to all 50 if possible. But I've been over to Asia. I've been over to the Middle East, all over. I've been to Africa, Europe. So I've been all over.
That's tight, bro. That's like they always say like traveling is like the best informal education, yeah, because you get to
Mm.
be in those countries and learn the culture big time, man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Did you see combat at all? I was just curious.
No.
No, okay.
Being Air Force, you're not really on the front lines unless you're security forces or like special forces. So I was an aircraft mechanic. So we're far away. We're the ones sending people over to the combat. We used to joke that if the enemies ever got to us, that means the Marines, the Army, they're all dead, and that we would just give up. We just the bad guys would show up. It's like, hey, you need someone to fix these planes, right? Like, I'm your guy. Don't kill me, please. Yeah,
Oh, that's true. I never thought about it that way. Yeah. That's a good one.
yeah. They didn't give us guns. We had wrenches. So what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? I mean, I went over to. I was in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Going in and out. Sometimes if a plane would break somewhere remote, they would send a team in, and we got to fix the plane as quickly as possible and get it out of there. So I've done that a few times. I was in Kirkuk. I think Iraq, and they started shelling the base. It was like rocket attacks and stuff like that while we were there. So that was something, but never combat.
Bro, that sounds action packed already, right there. What you saying? People shelling the base already. That would freak me
Yeah,
out,
it
dude.
was it was kind of crazy. Like when we first got there,
Yeah.
this master sergeant pulled up and he started telling us that they were getting attacked almost daily.
Wow.
And so, me and the other mechanic was just like, oh man, okay, we got to get this done. And then he starts like going on this tour of the base, and we're like, bro, get us to the plane so we can get it out of here. Like we're wasting time right now. And then we'd be working on the plane, and he's bringing out photographers for Air Force magazine. So now it's slowing us down even more, and we're not, we weren't following proper procedure. You're supposed to be wearing protective gear, rubber gloves, goggles, all this stuff. We weren't wearing any of that because we're not worried about getting some engine oil, some hydraulic fluid on us, whatever. We're gonna get this plane out of here. Especially because the plane we're working on, a C-17, the tail of the plane is really tall. I forget how tall it is. But the walls of the base were all shorter than the plane. So you can see the plane from anywhere around the base. So if you're gonna attack something, that's the target. And so this guy kept coming on. It's like, oh, do you guys need Gatorade or anything? It's just like, bruh, get away from us right now. Hurry, you need to get this done. So it was stressful, but we got it out of there without anything crazy happening.
Holy crap. Um, I because I always used to wonder this because I have some other friends that served in the military too. And did you notice after you got home, after you were done, retiring from the Air Force and everything, did you notice a change in yourself, like how I guess your perspective on life, or maybe the way you acted, or did anybody ever mention to you like, "Oh, Zach, you kind of different now," or something? I mean, whether good or bad, you ever had an experience like that?
I mean, it's something you definitely notice, after being through some of that stuff, being part of a team, especially as you go up in rank, that you don't have a choice. Now you're leading teams. As the better you get at your job, you're looked at as a leader. So in charge of people who outranked me because I was better at my job. And so learning how to manage people, how to deal with different people. I mean, egos. Like if someone, if I outrank you and then now you're in charge of me, that might not sit well with me. But you gotta learn how to do all that stuff in high stress situations. Even back home station, the flight crews they need so many hours of flight time, so we have to keep the planes in the air because they need to take those planes over to the desert. They need to be able to do their job. And so if we're slowing them down, now supervision is on us, you know, and we're already, I mean, we'd be doing work in 12-hour shifts and stuff like that. And anyone who works 12-hour shifts, it doesn't matter what you're doing. 12 hours is 12 hours. It's a long time. But for us, a 12-hour shift means you were there at the squadron at least 14 hours because the better you are at your job, now you got to come early because you got to, there's turnover for the big jobs. So you got to get there early for them to tell you where they are in the job, blah, 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 what's going on. And then you got to stay late to tell the next team what you got done, what they need to do, and all that stuff. You might have PT before shift. And so 12-hour shifts is really like 14, 15, 16-hour shifts in the military. So it's rough, but it was fun.
Yeah, but the one of the guys, one of my friends that had on an earlier episode, Isake, Fijian guy, he served in the military too, and he was telling me his experiences of being in boot camp and how mentally strong you become going through all those crazy experiences, like the stuff that you've gone through, man. And now it's interesting because he's a job trainer or a job coach trying to help people to maintain that positive mindset or whatever kind of stresses they go through to just plow right through it. And I can and just from the experiences that you had in leadership training or whatnot, I can tell, right, you're in high stress situations. So now when you come back home and you're working at somewhere like the Cove, it's
It's
much easier
nothing.
to manage people, right, compared to
Yeah,
being
it's
yeah,
nothing, man.
yeah.
But that even when the guys, every now and then they might be like, "Oh man, do I really have to shave?" It's like, come on, bro. How easy is this? Like, shave, comb your hair. That's it. Like, you got nothing else to worry about. And then you go out on stage and dance a little bit. Like, this is easy.
Wow, guys
Yeah.
complaining about shaving, huh?
Because some guys, oh, they like the 5 o'clock shadow look. Or we had a guy, he didn't complain about it, but he came in with a full beard, man. And so I felt kind of bad asking him. It was like, oh man, okay, like you gotta be clean shaven, man. And he was like, really? It's like, sorry, bro. It looks good, but that's just the policy of the company. Like the male dancers, we got to clean shaven every day. Like,
Yeah, I remember that. I remember those days. Even got to the point where some of the guys were even shaving their legs too. I remember doing that too, man. Yeah.
definitely, anything to get a little edge. I mean, it's tough, and like you're putting yourself out there, just looks wise. Because you're on a stage, it's a whole audience of people who are they might not be consciously doing it, but they're judging, on your look, how you move, and all that stuff. So
Yeah, because I know you talked about how you have like you're kind of like a kinesthetic learner where you pick up uh sports real quickly, martial arts and whatnot. I remember one time, well, I think it was the first time I met you. You actually got injured, and did you break your rib or you bruised it?
it was cracked.
Oh, it's cracked.
So I had cracked ribs,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
show goes on. So
I know. I
I
remember
was
that,
still
man.
dancing
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah,
did you take
It,
like any kind of painkiller or something to deal with it? Or?
I don't know. I don't know if it was the way I was raised or what, but I'm pretty good with pain. You know, I mean, tattoos, doing any kind of martial arts, like you gotta learn to be okay with it, how to be uncomfortable, how to be in pain and stuff like that. So, I mean, basic training was the same thing, but a lot of it was growing up. My dad, he put us through a lot, man. You know, he was real strict and he was all about being physically fit. And so I was a little fat kid with asthma, you know, when I was 8, 9, 10. And so he would every morning, 6 o'clock, he was waking us up. We were doing stretches, we were doing calisthenics, so push-ups, crunches, sit-ups, squats. We were doing just martial arts, like body conditioning stuff at 9 years old, you know. So since then, I've been doing all that kind of stuff, and that's probably why, you know, I developed that kind of toughness, you know, because we didn't have a choice. If we were in pain, if we were tired, whatever, he would make us run as soon as we came home from school, you know, run around the block, and he would time us. And with my asthma, there were times I thought I was gonna die because it was so hard to breathe, and it seemed like, you know, he just had no sympathy. You know, it just, oh, stand up straight, you know, arms over your head, you know, just calm down. And in your head, as a kid, you're just like, calm down, like I'm about to die. Like, I'm supposed to be calm right now. You know, like, can you see me? Can you hear me? Like, yeah. I'm just a little fat kid. Like, let me watch cartoons, man. Yeah.
Oh, that's nuts, bro. But what was your dad? Was he in the military or was he like a super athlete too? Is that why?
So yeah, he was the same way athletics wise. He played every sport growing up and stuff. Military, I think he was National Guard, like the Army. Um, but yeah, this that's how he was, you know, super competitive with everything. And so it definitely got passed on to my brothers and I, you know, more so than like me and my youngest brother. But yeah,
Yeah. Interesting, yeah, how sometimes like especially now being a father, and I'm sure you experience it too, where like I'll catch myself saying things to my sons and I'm like, holy crap, I sound like my dad, you know, and all the stuff that I would complain to my dad for him putting me through the ringer on certain things, you know. And before I'd be like, man, why the hell is he doing this to me? And now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, now I get it. Now I get why.
yeah. So yeah, like with uh, waking up early, working out, and all that stuff. That's something my kids are gonna go through, whether they like it or not. And you know, I did hate it at the time, but one of my uncles actually pulled me on the side and he told me, he's like, "You're gonna thank him later for this." You know, and of course at the time you're just like, "There's no way." Like I'm always gonna hate this, but it's not. Once you start learning how to move, once you know start getting stronger, especially teenage years, right? Or you start seeing muscles, start seeing the lumps and bumps, right? And it's like, ooh, okay, because now you're starting to see girls in a different way.
And then the girls
Oh
start
yeah, I got
noticing
pulled.
you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so when you're 9, it doesn't matter to you, really. You know, unless you're one of those special people who grow up to be like an Olympian or something, who all their lives, you know, that's that focus. But regular people, yeah, whatever, it's working out. But they're gonna do it, you know. What I'm not gonna be as hard as my dad, I don't think. You know, like I'm not gonna force sports and stuff like that. If they want to, cool. You know, even if you're not good at it, I'll try and keep my mouth shut on the side because I'm competitive. So of course I'm gonna want my kids to win at everything. But even if they don't, you know, it's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. What would you say? I mean, you talked about a lot already. Well, what would you say is maybe your biggest accomplishment, something you're proud of, and what would you say was the biggest challenge you had to deal with in your life? You mind sharing that?
Biggest accomplishment probably my kids. You know, so far just it I have a very different mindset when it comes to raising kids than then my dad. My dad, real strict. Uh, there's a line between discipline and abuse. And that was a line that was crossed a lot. You know, I mean, you mess up, you get lickings. You know, with the belt a little bit. Like that's one thing, man. I got hit with whatever was in reach. You know, if it was we were cleaning yard, it was the rake or you know the PVC pipe laying on the ground, whatever. And he threw was it like a Hawaiian sun, unopened can from across the kitchen, hit me in the head. It busted open, sprayed the wall and stuff. So you know, I'm determined to break that cycle. You know, I'm trying to do the gentle parenting. It's tough. Because kids
Yeah.
they try you, man. Every chance they get. Even she's only 2.5, and she's just like, don't do that. And she's like, I'm gonna do it. It's like, all right, you're gonna get hurt. Like, oh my gosh, just trying to help you. And she just went she in the potty. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, that's good.
Good job.
Good job, girl.
Woo!
Yeah, yeah, you gotta
Good job,
celebrate those
man.
for sure.
You know, we're still working on the number 2 in the potty.
Oh yeah, no
Third.
worry. You guys gonna get her in a preschool pretty soon?
If can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Us too, but I mean, same thing, right? But because once the kids are potty trained, like it opens the doors for them to either go childcare or preschool, all these different
Right.
things. Yeah, that's a
To
big deal.
get away from me. Yes. Um, yeah, so biggest accomplishment, biggest challenge, it's probably the same thing. And it's hard to break those cycles, you know, to get out of that way of thinking because that's all you knew growing up and stuff, you know. You know, my brother is actually I would say he's having a little bit of a harder time. He's more like my dad. And I see it and I want to tell him. But you know, it's at the same time it's like how do you tell someone how to raise their kid? You know, you don't want to I don't know. But it's just I want to tell him it's like look at the relationship we have with our dad. Like we're not close. And some people be talking to the parents every day on the phone or whatever. It's been a couple months, I feel like, since I talked to my dad. You know, and it's just he lives Big Island, but he was just recently down here. I didn't even know. So, you know, it's tough, you know, because you want a relationship with your parents. You want it, you know, but certain things, man, it just kills it. And I don't want to see him doing that with his daughter, with his kids. You know what I mean?
Hey, so how's the jujitsu workouts going, man? I always see your videos on Facebook of you getting slapped in the back with those belts. So I was like, oh, this guy
And
moving up fast.
it's good, man. I love it. So I mean, I wrestled in high school, and then growing up with different martial arts. We always had martial artists in the family. My dad's Uncle Roger Caleo, like he was a 10th degree grandmaster in like Kempo or something like that. Like he's known. I've had people come to the show who they were asking about martial arts, and then somehow someone was like, "Oh, he does jujitsu." They start talking to me, and then the guys were like, "Oh yeah, I'm a like a 8th degree whatever in Kachikempo," and I was like, "Oh my, one of my uncles," and then you know Roger Calejo, and they're just like, "Who?" And it's just like, "Oh, I mean, to me he was just Uncle Roger, you know, whatever." But him, my dad's brother, he's like 3rd or 4th degree black belt in something, and then he did like Eskrima and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that stuff, we were exposed to growing up, and then wrestling in high school, and I think it was just like the explosion of like MMA, kind of in general. You know, I saw that and I was just like, that looks fun, and so went to school that was in the town that I was stationed in Abilene, Texas. I was at Dias Air Force Base, and just driving around and I saw, MMA school. Well, pulled in there, and one of the coaches was actually a guy that used to be in the squadron with us. So I was like, oh, perfect. And I was talking to him. I was like, just driving by. I thought I would try it out. And he's like, all right, get on the mats. And I got my ass handed to me. It was bad by a guy. I probably had 40 pounds on him, but he was this like a champ somewhere in Washington, like small local show. But still, he had a belt. You know what I mean? So he's a champ. And he came down to train, and man, I had nothing for him. You know, because slap bump, and I was just like, okay, I'm bigger than him. Probably stronger, and all. It didn't matter. Yeah. I thought my head was gonna come off when he had me in like a guillotine choke, and he started pulling on it, and I was just, oh my gosh, please get off me. And then, but immediately after, it's okay. Please teach me how to do that. It's that kind of stuff. There's no really in between. You don't. I kind of like getting punched in the face. It's like no, it's either you hate it or you love it, man. And I love that kind of stuff. I love getting beat up. I love beating people up. So it's fun.
Yeah, I've heard from several people, like my dad, but my dad took martial arts too when he was growing up, and I remember him mentioning it's interesting too because my dad's a behavior specialist. Yeah, that was his
Mm.
job. He
Uh,
told me when you do martial arts, you kind of gotta be a sadist masochistic a little bit because you gotta like you kind of gotta like getting hit, and you kind of have to like hitting too. So
no.
it's interesting.
It is like yeah, because the people who don't understand, they're just like you like not being able to breathe and people bending your arm the wrong way and stuff. It's like I love it, because it's. I mean, if you're in pain, you're alive, you know. So
That
it shows you, man.
that's a good way to look at it too, man. If you if you're in pain, you know you're still alive, you're still going,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah,
if you can overcome that, you get stronger from it later on too. That's
yeah.
cool,
That's
man.
the thing. Like, if you spend a couple hours every couple days, like just getting beat up, and then you just go out into like nothing else is that serious anymore. Like somebody cuts you off, it's just like oh, whatever. Man. Like let it go. It's not as bad as someone choking you until you pass out, you know, or being stuck under a guy who weighs 100 pounds more than you, just smashing you for 5 minutes at a time. That's crazy. Once you learn how to deal with that and how to be okay with that, and or someone bumps into you as you're walking by, it's just, oh, you're not gonna get mad. It's, oh, sorry, bro. Whatever, let it go. It's just right off. It could be worse. It could be
That's
a lot
true.
worse.
That's
Yeah.
true, man. That's a good segue because the last question we got a few minutes. The last question I was going to ask you was, well, what is some advice that you would want to give to some fellow Polynesian brothers out there that are watching this episode that are going through rough times right now? I think you kind of talked about it just now, but what is some advice you would want to give them?
Let it go, man. It's especially small stuff like whatever. Oh, this guy never let me in the lane, or whatever. He like bumped into me in the bar or at the show, whatever. It's like let it go, man. It's not that serious. Especially man, the stuff that's going on with people shooting each other and all that stuff. It ain't worth it. Just turn around. Just want whatever. Oh, sorry, bro. Just go on with your life. Live your life. You got family, you got loved ones, you got friends who, in an instant, it could be done over something small. I mean, I had a friend. It was a few years ago, but he was in Kaneohe at a He'eia pier, and he got into a fight. They was drinking down by the pier, got into a fight. The guy, I don't think he even hit him. He swung at him, and then as he was backing up, he tripped and fell, hit his head. He was in the hospital, like in a coma for 2, 3 days, and then he died. Over what? Or what that guy said something you didn't like, or whatever. It's like, all right, he's gone forever. And that guy growing up, he wasn't someone who got into fights and all that kind of stuff. Who I would expect to get into a fight, but alcohol, you throw that in there, and then egos get mixed in, and all of a sudden everybody, well, I'm not gonna let it get away with saying that. Like, they were just words. Like, right, bye, bro. Say whatever. Like, I don't know. You can say whatever you want to me. It's not true. So just let it go, man. Live your life. Move on.
That's so true, bro. I've always watched like podcasts or see interviews or even just talk to friends that I know, and a lot of times you find like the toughest guys usually end up being the most humblest guys too, and then they'll just, like you said, just let it roll off their shoulder, man, because they know better. They try to get involved in those fights. I remember, I think it was George St. Pierre too. There was somebody that interviewed him, and they asked him like, so what is like the best self-defense technique? He's like, oh, the best thing to do is to talk nice to the guy. Like if a guy comes up to me, he's like, hey, what you want to fight? He'd be like, oh, no, I'm cool, man. Hey, that's a nice shirt you got on. He'd like divert the attention. He
Yeah,
just,
deflect.
yeah.
That's yeah. I tell people some of the same stuff, man. It's like, oh, what would you do in this situation? I would run away. They go, what? And he's like, I'll just leave. Like, is there anything keeping me in the situation? No, peace. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be there. So it's like, if you're still there, that's your choice now. You chose to stay in this situation that could escalate into something, someone getting stabbed, someone getting shot, you know, choose otherwise. Like, it's whatever. I got better things to do with, the people in my life than deal with this. I'm out of here. See ya.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Especially when you got family and children involved too, bro.
Oh,
That's
especially, yeah.
yeah.
They need you.
Yeah.
You don't need to be scrapping all the time. I mean, if it comes down to it where you got to protect somebody, do it. And that's one of the reasons I still, train jujitsu and like martial arts and stuff. It's like, you better know how to do it too,
Hmm.
because otherwise you're just gonna get hurt, and then your loved ones might get hurt. Or whatever. Everybody's, nowadays everybody's afraid of like a human trafficking
Oh yeah.
and stuff. It's just like, you know how to deal with somebody if something like that happens, or you're just gonna be the one yelling for help. Like, that's too much time, man. You gotta be able to take care of your loved ones, you know. But when you have to, you don't have to be there. See ya. Yeah,
Thanks, brother. See, folks,
yeah.
like I said, man, all these guys that come on the show, a lot of good manao to share, and the stuff that Zach told. Like I've been in a lot of situations where I didn't get in a fight, but I've seen friends getting involved, and it's just crazy to go through that stuff, bro. It's just not worth it. Totally not worth it. And bro, I appreciate you taking away and making some time to just do this, man. I know there's gonna be guys watching this or anybody watching
My
this.
pleasure, man.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's gonna be good, brother. And if do you actually, if anybody wanted to get in contact with you about like I don't know, advice or whatnot, like would they just check out you got like your email or website or anything like that, or
Social media, you follow people
yeah,
or email, sure. Uh,
or
that
or
would
they can just
be
message you, yeah.
yeah. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm always there, man. Especially like veterans or anything like that
Yeah.
who are having trouble. Like, hit me up. I'm here.
Cool. Thanks, brother. No, and tell Keely and your family mahalo too, man, for letting me borrow your time.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, folks. Thank you for coming to the show. We'll check you on the next episode of Hoi Kaika. Mahalo, Zach.
Mahalo, Gavin.